Well, good evening. Happy early April. Happy Holy Thursday to everyone. And we've got our live for the first Thursday of April. And in case I forget to say so before the end of the episode, I hope everyone has a very excellent and blessed Easter in the coming weekend. That said, we've got as always, some interesting things, as in the Chinese curse, may you live in interesting times type of interesting, to discuss of happenings in Canadian law. We've got an update on C9, talk a little bit about the gun grab, the voluntary quote-unquote gun grab, and whether that meets the test of actual voluntariness in criminal law. And then I figured I'll do a bit of a reaction to a very interesting incident in an American courtroom involving a transgender lawyer that probably a lot of you have seen, but I had a few thoughts on that as well. So without any more ado, let's get into it. Hello, my name is Nicholas Wansbutter. I'm a lawyer in Stratford, Ontario, Canada, and welcome to Don't Talk TV. Welcome to our live stream for April of 2026. And a shout out to Wiretap Media, who retweeted our announcement of this week's episode. We thank them for doing that. We've already seen a little bit more action in the comments box before we even, I guess that's the live chat, before we even started. So thanks to them for that. For any of you who are new to the channel, just tuning in, if you like what you hear while we're talking this evening, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you're using the right browser, please give us some hype. That's a new thing that they've got on YouTube. Still trying to figure out exactly what that is. I actually use the Brave browser, so I've never seen it on my browser. Brave's not paying me to say this, but it's a pretty good browser, I find, for blocking pop-ups and all kinds of different spyware and things like that. Of note, it blocks all YouTube ads. So if you don't like all those YouTube ads, it works well for that. So as I said in the preamble there, we've got a few things to talk about. C9. That's still big in the news, as it should be. Although, as I've said recently, it actually doesn't do a lot new. People should have been up in arms, in my view, about this for decades. But we'll talk a bit about what's going on with that, talk about what's going on with the gun grab, and we'll talk a bit about the pretty epic meltdown that a lawyer had down in the US recently. But before we get into all that, we've just got a quick word from my hardworking and well-paid at $0 an hour PR guy, Richard.
Are you looking to increase your target market audience? Reach and/or engage with current or potential clients on social media? Or are you simply looking to rebrand or revamp a current or up-and-coming company or business? Well, look no further than Ram Design Group, Inc., your public relations insurance plan for your next company event, new product launch, or marketing campaign overhaul. Ram Design Group, Inc. specializes in marketing, event planning, product launches, communications, social media management, crisis management, copywriting, and much, much more. Please visit ramdesigngroupinc.ca for more information, or email us at rmitchell@ramdesigngroupinc.ca and book your company's future success today.
So welcome back to our live, and Prairie 745, good to see you as well. And yes, we're glad to be back in the evening. Seems that more people are able to tune in, so that when it's after hours rather than first thing in the morning. So that is why we moved it back to this time. And I just wanted to say the whole thing, right? You probably notice how I'm always referencing that Richard is volunteer and that I don't pay him. I mean, I'm not bragging about the fact that I don't pay him, but it comes back to the whole don't talk thing. I mean, aside from the fact that it's true, as people know, sometimes you could be in a situation where there's someone who wants to get a piece of your action, get a cut of your earnings. And if they think you're making all kinds of money, they might go to court. So we have to sometimes make sure that the truth is very clear. So that said, let's get into C9. As I said, this has been big in alternate media. If any of you that actually watch legacy media, I mean, I'm so out of touch with legacy media that I'm not even sure whether they've talked about it at all. Let me know in the chat whether legacy media has even touched this. Certainly alternate media has touched it. They're concerned, and with good reason. So let's have a look at where we're at here. People may be concerned thinking that it's already passed into law, but just a reminder on how the process works. After it gets through the House of Commons, which it has to then get through the Senate. So as you can see, they did first reading March 26th. So now they'll have debate, discussion, they'll look at it in committee, there may be revisions, because the Senate can revise it as well. And sometimes the Senate will revise it so much that it then goes back to the Parliament for them to re-vote on now this revised version. So it's not law yet, although it's another step closer. And I don't think we have a lot of reason to doubt that it will ultimately become law unless something surprising happens in the Senate, which has happened before. We can't deny that has happened occasionally. So let's hope that the Senate stops it. Writing to the senators may help. I mean, I actually heard back from the Senate when I wrote to a number of them. Way back. I forget which firearms bill it was, C-21, I think. Maybe I wrote to them with my thoughts as a lawyer and how this could impact people. I mean, they at least wrote back. Now, obviously, they didn't listen to what I had to say, but might not hurt. Now, that said, I want to reiterate something of what this bill does, because I've seen recently, I mean, the main thing that people seem to be talking about is that it criminalizes the Bible, or that it criminalizes memes. And I think it was last week's episode we talked about the fact they've been throwing people in jail for memes for years. And I did look in detail at the case of Mr. Patrick McDonald. I believe his name, Dark Foreigner, was his internet name. That man got 10 years literally for memes. But I mean, whether we agree or disagree with, I mean, it was for a designated terrorist group, but it was still memes. But I don't think that's the most important part of C9, because C9 doesn't actually do that. That's already there in law. What it does do is it makes the Bible hate propaganda. Now, people have said, oh, no, it doesn't. You're just fear-mongering. But let's have a look at what the law is actually going to do here. And I'll show you. I think it makes it pretty clear that, yes, it does make it hate law. So you can see what we've got here is paragraph 319 sub 3 sub B is repealed. This is one of the things that C9 does. It deletes 319 sub 3 sub B of the criminal code. So let's have a look at what is 319 sub 3 sub B. That is under the defenses section. And it says that no person shall be convicted of an offense under subsection 2. We can see that's anyone who, by communicating statements other than private conversation, willfully promotes hatred against any identifiable group. No person shall be convicted under that section of the criminal code if, in good faith, the person expressed or attempted to establish by an argument an opinion on a religious subject, or an opinion based on a belief in a religious text. So by deleting that, that is no longer a defense that your speech that's deemed hateful is based on a religious belief. Obviously, the Bible, this is religious belief. I mean, it's the religious text of Christian faith. So yes, that does make the Bible hate propaganda, because if you know your Bible, you know that it has some things that the people who make these laws and the people who enforce these laws don't like and consider hatred. Now, of course, if you take it in a broader context and consider what Christianity is really all about, and it's about love, that condemnations of certain evil acts are, they're condemned, and they come from a place of love, because these things are not good for people. They're not good for society. They harm them. But in our current paradigm, you're not allowed to say that. That is considered hatred. And we all know that the Bible does, it condemns homosexuality, the act, not the people per se. The Bible talks about entire cities being incinerated because of sins of a sexual nature. Now, homosexuality was a major piece of the Sodom and Gomorrah story. Also, just general adultery, fornication, and things like that. But that was the key. That's why homosexuality is often referred to as the sin of Sodom or sodomy in older texts, older speech. So that's just one example. There's other examples, and I would say I'm trying to make this statement in a situation that's relevant to a subject of public interest, although it is still defense right now to talk about a religious belief. So we're talking about religious beliefs right now. There's other things. So, for example, it's frequently said that when Pilate tried releasing our Lord Jesus Christ at his trial, the Jews were demanding his crucifixion, and even to the point said, "Let his blood be upon us and upon our children." That passage of the Bible is so controversial that even like Mel Gibson even retreated on that point and deleted the subtitles when they say that in the movie The Passion of the Christ. So quoting that, or pointing out the fact that that was said by the leaders of the Jewish people at our Lord's trial, that might be deemed hate speech. And once subsection B of 319 sub 3 is deleted, that would be no defense to say that, well, I'm just quoting a religious text. This is my religious belief. You're not allowed to have that religious belief once that's deleted. So this makes the Bible hate crime. It potentially makes Christianity in and of itself illegal. Now I'll just pause briefly because Linda Shaw has a question here. Is there any chance these new laws can be reversed or revised by a new government should another ever be elected? Yes, absolutely. A future government could absolutely reinsert subsection 3 sub B. A new government could completely delete the hate crime legislation if they wanted to. There's nothing stopping sections of the criminal code being revised. It can be revised either way. The problem we have in Canada is that you have dedicated ideologues in one branch of the Uniparty, and you have cowards in the other branch of the Uniparty, unprincipled cowards, I would say, who never change anything. It's not like the Conservative Party of Canada has never been in power in this country. They've been in power many times, and funny how nothing ever seems to change. Now, just getting back to the Bible, though, so I've made a pretty strong comment that arguably this amendment of C9 renders Christian belief illegal or renders the Bible hate propaganda. Now, do I think that the police are going to start kicking down doors and arresting people because they're known Christians? No, I don't think that will happen. For practical reasons. Consider the fact that every courtroom in the country still has a Bible in it. Pretty much every hotel still has Gideon Bibles in them. So are they going to go round those up and burn them in huge piles? Are they going to arrest court staff for holding on to this? No. I think that's clearly a bit too extreme, and practically they can't do that. But what I think they will use this is when there's someone that they do want to get, or when there's strong complaints made. Say if someone goes to a church and they don't like the sermon they hear, and they make complaints, all the hate crime laws, if you look at some of the prior episodes, and Richard will put the playlist in the comments section and in the chat, have a look at the hate crime playlist. You'll see, if you watch that playlist, you will see that, first of all, this has been around for years. You'll see what the actual definition of hate is, and then you'll also see just the progression of how things have gone over time, how these things tend to be enforced, and the fact that they generally come from vehement and vociferous and repeated complaints from groups such as B'nai B'rith and the Canadian Anti-Hate Network. So I think that I don't anticipate police, frankly, if for no other reason, they lack the resources, but I mean, many police officers are Christians themselves. I don't see them going proactively kicking in the doors of churches, but when people make complaints, or if there's a particular preacher who's really a fire and brimstone preacher, that's when I think the hammer might start being dropped. So for now, it's not, I don't think they're going to start loading people into cattle cars and shipping them up to the Northwest Territories. But the problem is, once this law is entrenched and it's there, that leaves it open to do things down the road that are more serious. And anyone who's lived in this, who's my age and mid 40s, or even in your 30s, you've seen how much this country has changed in the last 30 years. So imagine another 30 years, and if you have laws like that on the books, how that might be used. Now, having said that, and perhaps I do intend to do a more detailed video of maybe some thoughts and generalized advice, or warnings rather than legal advice, for pastors that they might consider once this law starts gets actually into law. And unfortunately, seems like we cannot count on the king to block anything, aside from the fact that the monarchy has been reduced to a complete figurehead with no actual power. They're just a rubber stamp. But I mean, His Majesty apparently won't be giving an Easter greeting, which is especially ironic when you consider the fact that he is actually the head of the Church of England. So he's not just a secular ruler. He's the leader. He's like the Pope, if you will, of the Anglican Church. And he's not going to give an Easter greeting. That's just the insanity of the times we live in. That even someone who's the leader of a religious church is not even believing enough in that religion to make that. I mean, I don't even know why he's not doing that. Is it fear that something's going to happen? I'm not sure. Obviously, all I know is I heard that he's not going to give an Easter greeting. I've been consulted with His Majesty on his reasonings. Now, that said, probably enough said on C9 for now, at least. We'll have more to say about it later, but we've got the gun grab going. So this shared with me from CAT Canada. Liberal MP is upset that Alberta and Saskatchewan won't comply with the Liberal gun grab that seeks to buy back guns from licensed, law-abiding, trained gun owners. He says it's not optional to enforce those laws. So they're glad that this Liberal policy failed. I'm just going to play a bit of this. So I'm going to stop and reshare just to make sure that I clicked the right box, because that is one thing that if they cared for my complaints, I would complain. Oh, actually, StreamYard has made it standard now to share the audio. So that's good, because I used to not do that, and we had some hiccups as a result. I'm sure lots of people are complaining about that. So let's just listen to a bit of what everyone's favorite Minister of Public Safety was saying recently.
I mean, this is nothing new here. Like, this has been a decision of the government of Alberta for at least a year, and similarly with the government of Saskatchewan. So there's nothing new or substantive in that question. What I will say is that the program will conclude today. The enrollment period of the program will conclude today at at midnight Pacific time. And those who are eligible and those who have enrolled in the program will be able to seek compensation for their prohibited firearms that they will be willing to turn over.
Pennies on the dollar compensation. And viewers may have noted that they recently slashed the budget in half for the pot of money to so-called compensate firearms owners. So it's going to be even more pennies on the dollar
to police. Having said that, it's regrettable that both the government of Saskatchewan and Alberta have chosen this path. It does mean that the citizens who are law-abiding and who have enrolled in the program, and it is not optional for law enforcement agencies to enforce those laws. I mean, this is not.
Okay, so they're starting to get a little bit stronger in their wording now. I mean, this is this is right here. The minister just completely showed the blatant lie when they say, "Oh, this is a voluntary program." Well, no, he's just saying there it's not voluntary for police to enforce the law. Translation: it's not optional for the police to arrest people and for unlawful possession of a prohibited firearm when the time comes, and take those firearms from them. That said, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because the police themselves, although it's not optional for them to enforce the law, they do have discretion on what crimes they prioritize, what their investigative priorities are. Do they actually have the time, the people, the money, and other resources to scour firearms sales logs dating back years to see who bought what and then try to track down, was that ever sold? Especially since up until recently it was never required to report to the government if you sold. It seems, and I think the police have said this, that it's essentially impossible for them to go door to door. Now, that's for formerly non-restricted firearms that have been prohibited. Formerly restricted firearms like pistols and the AR-15, I mean, those, they have a registry. Because those have to be registered, they know who has them and where they are. So that may be a different story, although it will be interesting to see how much resources, how much they dedicate to that, because I can say just anecdotally from my practice as a criminal defense lawyer that I still frequently come across cases where the police come across a firearm that's been in someone's possession for 50 years before they even had the current system in place. So, good question from Patricia Burlow, 8469. I don't know the Quran. Would that be considered hate speech? I don't know the Quran intimately. I do know some choice quotes where they talk about the duty to kill the infidel. When they talk about how you're to hate the infidel, and the whole holy war passages, and I haven't read anything on the Quran in quite a while, but if you look at the history of Islam, it was spread by the sword. And has anyone ever noticed how there are no non-Muslims in all the parts of the world that were conquered by Islam? That said, that's the letter of the law, and in law, in writing, in the word of the law. In practice, they will never prosecute Muslims. I mean, you can see, and you can have a look at, we have a whole playlist on the selective enforcement of the law, and how the law seems to be applied differently if you are of certain demographics and versus other demographics. And that's perfect. At 9:10, Rick, that's exactly what I want you to do. And Richard, remind me, what is it, episode 221, where I actually gave a demonstration on how to deal with police at the door. So if you haven't watched that episode, and Richard can correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, 222, I was close, one episode off. check out episode 222 for a step-by-step demonstration on what to do if police come to your door. So that said, let's get to the fun stuff. Let's get to this this lawyer in I forget what state it is. I think they mention it, but anyway, we'll let me get the screen sharing going on here. Unfortunately, Fox News is one that has like unfiltered footage where you're not getting other people's reaction to it. I don't like their player because it puts these things on the side when you pause. But let's.
And I think perhaps many attorneys might need to look into when people are victims of domestic violence and don't want to face their abuser. Now, Mr. Whaley is not an alleged perpetrator. I didn't get to finish my thought.
My question was, if I didn't make it clear, why have you not filled out an ADA request on behalf of your client prior to bringing it up?
So I'm just going to pause. So my view, just at the beginning here, is it seems like, to me, the judge is being a little bit unfair with this individual, a little bit needlessly aggressive. Now, there's some suggestion maybe they had a bit of a run-in before, as we hear later, but this was just my original take when I first started watching. I thought, I don't know, this judge seems like she's being a little bit snippy with this guy.
Explaining that, didn't even know that you could do so.
Well,
I know now.
you know now.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a simple form. I think it can be obtained from our court clerk's
No,
office
ma'am, it cannot.
downstairs. Yes, we have that form here in the Pontotoc County.
Well, then the
District
Pontotoc
Court.
County is way more advanced than where I practice primarily, and I appreciate that.
So you need to go down and get that form for you.
I've already got one.
I mean, he's being professional and appropriate at this point, I think.
It comports with the
Yes,
form that
ma'am.
we use here in Pontotoc
We'll do so.
County.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, can you wait until?
Yes, of
Thank you.
course.
So at this point, I don't think there's any need in going forward today.
We were back to the issue at hand, which was you asked me to not provide testimony on behalf of my client. You asked me what paragraph it was. I pointed you to the exact paragraph.
Stop.
It's her education.
Stop.
Stop because you don't want to hear
Oh,
what the
stop.
argument is.
Stop. You interrupt me one more time. You are being held in direct.
So now the judge is threatening him with contempt. I don't think he's been contemptuous at this point. I mean, he was trying to make his position, put his position on the record, which, I mean, that's what a good lawyer does. I'm not sure why the judge is snapping at him this harshly at this point, because in my view, this lawyer has not acted inappropriate to this point. I mean, anyway, let's just keep watching.
Contempt with court, and
Yes,
you can
ma'am.
wipe that smirk off.
I don't
your
have a
face.
smirk on my face.
Oh, yes, you
I do
do.
not.
I am not going to tolerate this from you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Fill out the request, get the form from our court clerk's office.
It's hard to tell from this angle whether he has a
Make sure
smirk
it
or not.
comports with what you've got already. Get it filed, mailed in, whatever you need to do. Let us assess her request. If it's,
My client's not seen her child. There is no order in this court, and there's been no jurisdiction found that this court has jurisdiction over this child who has never lived.
Now, I think if you'd had your child taken by the state, you would probably want a lawyer to have a little bit of fire in them like this.
I wasn't done with my argument.
and I was not done with my statement. You interrupted again.
Okay, now here's where he's starting.
I did not throw it, fell off the bench. Please stop stating things that are not true, ma'am.
Sir, you've got a room full of.
Okay, so now here's where this guy's starting to get out of line because he clearly threw the phone. Maybe he was intending to kind of toss it onto the bench. And this whole thing I'm thinking about here, this is part of the problem with the informality of the American system, where they're right up there with the judge. You don't have that distance. They're just having these informal conversations. That's probably part of what got them into trouble here. But here's where he's starting to act up. I mean, that was inappropriate to, throw down his phone like that. But contempt, I don't know.
I do. I put it down. I did. I put it down and it fell down. I did not fall.
Then settle down.
I'm not upset and I'm not arguing. You're not letting me make an argument. I'm not letting-
Clearly getting upset.
I'm not.
Stop. Our court reporter cannot get what we're both saying.
I
We're
am
going
trying to make my argument. You interrupted my argument halfway through.
This is
on
a
an
panic
objection.
button that will get every available deputy in.
Yes,
front of
ma'am, I'm
me.
aware. It's happened to
You're
me before.
interrupting. It has.
Yes.
Because you're out of line
Yeah,
with court.
I guess so.
Okay, if I push that.
Or maybe
button-
because I'm a transgender attorney practicing all over the state.
I don't know what you are.
You do.
Of course, now pulling out the victim card. Oh, it's because I'm a transgender attorney. Well, no, it's probably because of inappropriate behavior. I mean, at this point, I think we've crossed the line into inappropriate behavior. Contempt of court, I don't know about that. Just say, at 910 Rick says this used to be a woman. Apparently, that's what I was wondering when this person identified themselves as a transgender attorney. I was wondering, okay, is this a guy who identifies as a woman, or is this a woman who identifies as a man? I can't. It's hard to tell because of you know how it is, right? There's different ways that they present themselves. So I wasn't clear on that. So thanks for that, Rick.
Ma'am, it's not that you do.
I don't know whether
You do,
you're
ma'am. You
transgender,
do. You
other
do.
than you have just now
No,
advised me,
ma'am,
and
you
that
do.
doesn't have
You
anything
do.
to do
It's
with
happened when we
anything.
talked on the phone.
That wasn't.
So that's why I alluded to, but maybe there being some background of why the judge is going off on
And I
this
didn't
person.
hear from Adam.
I
at
said,
that
my name
point.
is Rob Hopkins. I'm
Which
an
doesn't
attorney
mean
in
anything.
Oklahoma City.
No, sir, you did not.
Okay,
Okay,
there's no one there to know that, right?
okay. So we are pausing this until you get the ADA request form filled out.
So we're going to
Please.
pause a hearing on jurisdiction that's been set twice. I drove an hour and a half to have the hearing. My client's available telephonically. And we are simply not even taking testimony.
Is your client available telephonically?
Yes, ma'am.
today?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, then get her on the phone.
Thank you.
Your Honor, to which we would object. This is as clear as the nose on my face that this woman will not appear before this court because she has a warrant or stealing.
Objection, hearsay. That's not true. And you read
You
it.
will find, sir, that you
Okay, so now here's where things start getting a bit spicy. And the opposing attorney is being pretty laid back and like not yelling or anything at all. And then this guy, girl, whatever, just blows up. And this is where it's getting to the line of maybe getting into contempt. It's unprofessional behavior to be accusing opposing counsel of lying, and it's also like this is a ridiculous objection. Oh, that's hearsay. It's not. I mean, okay, yeah, it is. That's not what hearsay is, to say that there's a warrant. I'm sure that lawyer has knowledge and has seen the warrant to be saying that, or the police advised them that that the warrant's there. I mean, a court document is a matter of court record. That's different than hearsay. I'm not sure if he was flipping out about the statement that there's a warrant or the statement of what the warrant was for, but that is completely fair game for the opposing counsel to point out that there's a warrant for the client's arrest for theft, apparently. So this is now getting out of line, and we're getting close to contempt of court territory. Any of the judges I've appeared in front of in Canada, I don't think would cite some for contempt. They would give them an opportunity to calm down, but you'll see this judge just bolts from the bench and calls in the sheriffs.
At me instead of me, or shout at me.
I'm not putting it on there.
No, we're stopping.
Get out of my face, sir. Get out of my face, sir.
You may step
Get
back.
out of my face.
You should leave this county.
Get out of my face.
He's not in his face. I mean,
Get out of my face.
that's this is getting ridiculous now, right? This
And
screaming, get out
get
of
out of my face.
He's not in his face.
Why?
Because you're in direct contempt of court. and
He
taking
shouted
it.
at me. No, I'm not being, you did not even say that I was in
You are
contempt.
in direct.
No, I'm not
Judge,
doing
I
my stuff.
apologize, but I felt very threatened by this person.
The screaming and the yelling in court, I've never even heard of.
So Cal Medeiros asked, do you think the judge struck a nerve? Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was the opposing counsel
Do not hurt me.
set him off.
Do
Oh
not
yeah,
hurt me.
do not hurt me. This now we're getting into full
Do not.
ridiculous.
You're throwing me over
Stop
this.
resisting.
I'm not resisting.
Okay, put your hand behind your back, stop resisting.
You know exactly what's happening.
Yes, I'm not resisting as
I
he's
can't walk. I'm
resisting.
being thrown down.
Settle down, walk that way.
Settle down. Do not grab me. Do not grab me. What are
Okay,
you,
now yeah, here we go.
what are you doing? What are you doing? You're hurting me. You're hurting me.
Yeah, you're hurting me. You're hurting me. Okay, yeah, and then there's of course the
I can't breathe.
of course.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Put your hand behind
I
your back.
cannot breathe.
Yeah, if he can't breathe or he or she can't breathe, how are they screaming, I can't breathe, I can't breathe? I mean, you can't, if you're actually can't breathe, you need breath to scream. It's actually a cross-examination I've done many a time when witnesses are trying to say that they're being choked, yet they were yelling. I mean, this meltdown is now we're preposterous, and yeah, as Cal Medeiros says, I mean, yeah, this is drama, and this serves nothing. Like, do you really think behaving like this is going to lead the sheriff's officers to say, "Oh, yeah, our bad," or for the judge to say, "Yeah, my bad, you're not in contempt"? I mean, this is just preposterous. Doesn't help the lawyer, and it certainly doesn't help the client. So we'll just play this. So, I mean, this is one thing of professionalism as a lawyer. I mean, and is you've got to take one for the team, as in for your client, right? Because how did this help? How did this help the client? Not at all. Yeah, someone called 911. It's the police, and you're resisting arrest. I mean, you can see, you can tell this person clearly. Okay. You can tell this person's clearly not being hurt by the reaction or non-reaction of everyone else in court. I mean, he's just making a complete ass of herself here, and and clearly resisting. I mean, what else are the police do? I mean, the police actually, I think, were quite, were pretty restrained. And yes, I can't breathe, famous last words of George Floyd. And I think that's why it's pulled out often in these sort of situations, are the type of people who are big supporters. Now that's interesting. See, that's why I thought maybe this was a man who identifies as a woman, because why ask for the female officer if this person's position is I'm a man? Why would you would not have a female officer, you'd have a male officer to deal with you. So that's why I thought maybe this is someone who identifies as a female. But I don't know if anyone has a link that they can share. Please put it in the chat.
I can't get up. I can't see. He just threw my glasses. I can't see. Give me my glasses.
I mean, how many people are completely blind?
Put them on my face. I cannot see. Please give me my glasses. I cannot see.
Yeah, Dennis Johnson has a point that it does sound a bit like an exorcism. You know, you get that. Yeah, you see in a lot of these cases kind of that demonic voice seems to come out. I don't know what that's all about. Well, we might have some suspicions of what that's all about. All right, so that's that. I mean, as I said, I think that in fairness to that lawyer, the judge was a bit out of line at the beginning, but he or she went completely out of line when they started yelling and screaming at the opposing attorney for pointing out that there is a warrant. maybe the judge was a bit precipitous in citing for contempt, but the behavior once the court officers came in was completely insane. And Kyle Medeiros makes a good point. Isn't it a bit strange that we're still trying to figure out if it's a man or a woman? I mean, I don't know. I guess we shouldn't say too much about that. We've been talking about hate crime on here, but I mean, I'm not saying this is any kind of hatred. I don't know, because if they're asking for the female officer, then doesn't that mean that this is a person identifying as a woman? Because if they are, what do they call their terminology? If they say biologically or sex assigned at birth was female, why would you ever ask for a female lawyer if you're now saying you're a man? But anyway, so that's my reaction to that. And I think the biggest problem on the part of that lawyer was the prejudice that they inflicted on their client, because now that case is not going to get a hearing. The lawyer just got dragged off, made a complete like dog and pony show out of this with that complete meltdown in court. And now that woman that was being represented by that lawyer is not going to be able to see her children in circumstances where maybe there were grounds that shouldn't be happening. We heard earlier in the video that the lawyer was saying that there was no jurisdiction for the court to be for the local, they call it Child Protective Services in the US. In Ontario, it's CAS. Manitoba, it's CFS, Child and Family Services. But now that client is out. Lawyers, you have to put service to the client before themselves. And in that scenario, even if you don't like, as a lawyer, don't like what the other side's doing, what the judge is doing, you suck it up, you stay professional, you stay calm, you stay cool and collected, and you just keep it professional so that you don't get dragged off into the cells and leave your client high and dry. So that's the biggest problem I have with that video. I mean, it's in a certain way kind of entertaining to see that epic meltdown once the officers try making an arrest. So those are the things we had to cover. But I saw a question that I wanted to answer, because we like to answer questions as much as we can. That's what the lives are all about. So Patricia Burlow 8469 was asking, what wine was I drinking during episode 222? Well, we're on episode 295, so that was a little while ago that I was drinking that. So I'm just trying to remember, but it was brandy, which would be a fortified wine. My go-tos usually, I think it was a Marquis de Viard brandy, which is one that I fairly frequently like to get. There's another one that I like quite a lot that I'm just trying to remember. I'm actually looking at the LCBO website to see what they are, because there's one that comes in a triangular shaped bottle that I feel like a little bit foolish to not be remembering the name of that. Let's see if they oh yeah, Vecchia Romagna. It was either that or a Marquis de Viard, because those would be the most common that I'd be having around the time period that I filmed that. Also a fan of Saint Remy VSOP brandy, which is very tried, tested, and true. But if you're into brandy, I highly recommend the Vecchia Romagna. That's been, let's throw it up here. Even though we don't get any kickbacks, we don't get any advertisement fees from that. But if you like brandy, I highly recommend this one. I've actually, my secretary got me a bottle of this for Christmas one year, and I've loved it ever since. So that's been one of my go-tos as well. So may have been that if it wasn't the Marquis de Viard that I was drinking in episode 222. So with that said, if we don't have any more questions, it is Holy Thursday. I'm about to start a 5-day weekend to celebrate the mysteries of the Holy Triduum, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and Easter Sunday. So, good question from Gone Squirrely. With all the constitutional laws that are changing in Canada, what law changes concern you the most? The ones we've talked about in this episode, and that's why we've talked about C9 and firearms confiscation. The hate crime law changes, I think, is number one, actually. I mean, the firearm confiscation is really bad as well, but the hate crime laws and the escalation of that concerns me the most, because that's getting into thought crime territory, and that's getting into the stuff we've seen from totalitarian regimes in the past, where you're controlling what people think, and you're controlling unpopular opinions or opinions that the state doesn't like. So that said, I wish everyone a very blessed and happy Easter. And this video, of course, is not legal advice. If you need legal advice, contact a lawyer. You need a lawyer to be able to give you evidence or advice that's tailored to the specifics of your situation. And I can't do that in a general video like this. If you have any topics you'd like to see us cover, please send an email to the email address listed below there, don'ttalktv@protonmail.com. And if you found this video at all interesting, helpful, or informative, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, following us on social media, and if you watch on YouTube, giving us those hype points.